Hey everyone, this is Nick with Twisted Wrister Hockey, coming at you with oddball hockey topics, homebrew statistical analyses, jersey unboxings, and more.
Hey there, Twisters, and welcome to my 2019 Western Conference Finals preview. The San Jose Sharks and the St. Louis Blues are both coming off of Game 7 victories and will clash again like they did 3 years ago in the conference finals. Now, if you go all the way back to my season predictions video, I think that was back in September, I actually predicted these two teams to meet in the conference finals. Now, the Sharks came into the season as a definite cup favorite, or one of them. And so, it wasn't all that surprising to see them here, although, it was a pretty close call in both of their series. And as for the Blues, they had a really nice offseason going into this year, but it took them a long time to actually put it together. They needed to bring on a new head coach, Craig Berube, and here they are. They made their way past Winnipeg and have played very well on the road, and they were able to just do enough to, fluster Ben Bishop just in the slightest to put them over the edge against the Dallas Stars. Now, because of the playoffs, we've seen a nice little climb in subscribers recently. So to all of those of you who've already subscribed and liked videos on this channel, thank you very much and welcome aboard. And for those of you who are new, especially if you're a San Jose Sharks fan like me, yep, there will be a bias in this video, be sure to hit that red subscribe button down below for weekly hockey content. Also, if you look at my season predictions video, I had mentioned that the Boston Bruins would go to the conference finals where they would be bested by the Columbus Blue Jackets. I had called that just about one round too early, and now the Bruins are actually the ones who are advancing there. Hey, I think I did pretty well for my predictions overall. I also said that the Hurricanes would make the playoffs as a wild card, so there you go. Now, for this actual preview, what I'll be doing is I'll be going over some of the key stats and providing some analysis and also my observations of those teams in the postseason. And then I'll be giving you 3 reasons why I think each team could win their series. And I'll also give 3 reasons why I think they might not win the series. I won't actually give you my prediction. So instead of me giving the prediction, how about you in the comments below? Let me know who you think is going to take this series, and let me know your impression of that team going into the Cup Finals potentially. All right, everybody. So without further ado, let's go. All right, friends, so here's how I'll break this down. So first of all, we'll look at how these two teams got to where they are, looking at their 2 rounds before this one right here. Then we'll look at the key stats and the key leaders for each of these teams. Then we'll look at the matchup between these two teams in head-to-head statistics. And then I'll look at 3 reasons why I think each of these two teams could win this series, and 3 reasons why I don't think they could win this series. All right, so let's start with the Blues and their first 2 rounds. So they started off against Winnipeg, and they won in 6 games. So they won the first 2 games on the road, then they lost 2 games at home, and then they won games 5 and 6. So on the right column here, we have sort of the key stats for each of these games. So for example, Tyler Bozak in game 1, he had a monster game. He had a goal and 6 shots on goal. Oskar Sundqvist added some depth, scoring 2 goals in game 2. Then Jordan Binnington, this is when he was lit up if you wanted to, pinpoint one game during the playoffs so far, 6 goals on 29 shots. The St. Louis Blues won the face-off battle by a heavy margin, 38-24 in game 4, but fell in overtime. I didn't really see any other big flaws in their game there. St. Louis was down 2-0 after the first period in game number 5, but they scored 3 goals in the third period. And then in Game 6, they won the shots battle and the takeaways battle by heavy margins and took a 3-2 victory to seal the series. Then in round 2 against the Dallas Stars, they started with home ice and they won their first game 3-2. The St. Louis forwards mustered just 13 shots on goal, but Tarasenko, part of that forwards core, he put in 2 goals. In Game 2, they fell 4-2. They lost the blocked shots battle 18-5. In Game 3, they came out on top 4-3. They lost the faceoff battle by a huge margin there, and they outblocked the Dallas Stars 28-16. Kind of in the middle of the series, it was really interesting seeing these big differences in faceoffs and block shots, and maybe a couple other categories, but those are kind of the 2 big ones there. They got outblocked again in Game 4 and fell 4-2, and here they lost the faceoff battle by an 11 faceoff margin. In Game 5, they fell 1-2, and that put Dallas ahead in the series 3-2. Braden Shen, he's had kind of a mixed bag of results here in this playoffs. He had 2 penalties that game. He had 6 hits, but he had 4 giveaways. In Game 6, Sammy Blais scored one of the big goals there, and he also tallied 9 hits. And then lastly, in Game 7, a lot of you know that Patrick Maroon not only had the game-winning goal in double overtime, but he was also very influential in creating some net front traffic for the first goal as well. And now we'll look at the Sharks, same thing here. So in the first round, they took on Vegas. They won the first game 5-2. Brent Burns got off to a hot start. Goal, assist, 4 blocks, 2 takeaways. Then in Game 2, the Sharks were down 0-3 in the first period very early on, but they rallied to tie it by the end of the period. However, they only cashed in once on 8 power play chances, and they conceded 2 shorthanded goals. In Game 3, Martin Jones faced 40 shots and led in 6 goals. Joe Pavelski had kind of an uninspiring performance that night with a -3 and just 1 shot on goal. Game 4 was the low point for the Sharks in the playoffs. They had 28 shots on goal, but 20 were blocked by Vegas. Evander Kane and Timo Meier really got into trouble with Ryan Reeves and company, and they tallied a combined 30 penalty minutes. In Game 5, the Sharks battled back, facing elimination. They won the hits battle against Vegas, which you can't say very often, and they also won the face-off battle by a heavy margin as well. In Game 6, Martin Jones made a franchise-high 58 saves, and Logan Couture and Tomas Hertl's goals are definitely of note. Couture tied the game up in the final 10 seconds of the first period, and Tomas Hertl's goal in double overtime came shorthanded. And then in Game 7, as we know, the Knights took a 5-minute major. Whether or not you want to say it should have been a major, that's certainly debatable. And the Sharks cashed in by scoring 4 power play goals. In the second round, the Sharks took on the Colorado Avalanche, who came off of a 5-game impressive series against the Calgary Flames. In Game 1, the Sharks won 5-2. Brent Burns had a goal, 3 assists, and 6 block shots. In Game 2, the Sharks fell at home 3-4. Tomas Hertl had 2 assists, but he was on the ice for a lot of the goals, and he had 2 giveaways. Game 3 in the Mile High City, the Sharks bounced back 4-2. Couture had a hat trick, including an empty net goal. Timo Meier had a goal and 2 assists. He was a +3 with 5 shots on goal. In Game 4, well, there really wasn't anything statistically I could point to, but Erik Karlsson, this is just kind of like a telltale sign of how he's performed at points during these playoffs. He was a -1. He had 4 shots on goal, but 5 missed shots. He just hasn't been able to put the puck in the back of the net despite his 12 assists. In Game 5, the Sharks won the shots battle 39-22 and the face-off battle 31-20 en route to a 2-1 victory. In Game 6, the Sharks kept it close with the Avalanche. The Avs scored first and the Sharks tied it up, and that repeated 2 more times. But the thing is that the Sharks conceded a goal within the first 5 minutes of the second period, the third period, and overtime. And then in the elimination game, Game 7, the Sharks were outshot 15-2 in the third period, but they held on, partially because of their strong play in the faceoff circle. Let's look at the matchup between these two teams. So these are playoff statistics. Now remember that the Blues have played 1 fewer game than the Sharks. They've played 13, the Sharks have played 14. So as you can see between goals for and goals against, the Sharks are in higher scoring games. Even strength goals for, the Blues actually have the edge here. They have a positive goal differential here, and the Sharks have a negative goal differential. Looking at the shots battle, the Blues have a positive 3 shot differential per game, and the Sharks are a 0.5 positive shot differential per game. Shot percentage, however, favors the Sharks by a significant margin. In terms of missed shots, so missing the net when you're shooting, so not a shot on goal, this is basically the same between these two teams. Special teams have not been a strength for either of these teams in the playoffs. The Blues have just a 17.1% power play on 41 chances, and the Sharks are at 18.5% at 54 opportunities. Shorthanded, the Blues are an even 75% in 28 opportunities, and the Sharks are at 80.8% in 52 opportunities. In the faceoff circle, the Blues have been struggling a little bit, especially against the Stars. There were some games where they lost by a large margin there, while the Sharks have been fairly good in the faceoff circle. Looking at the takeaways to giveaways ratio, per game, St. Louis is averaging 8.7 takeaways to 10.1 giveaways, And the Sharks are averaging 10.9 takeaways to 7.9 giveaways, so they have a positive differential. However, these stats, they are kind of subjective in how they're actually recorded. Blocked shots per game, the Sharks have a 17.8 average, and the Blues a 13.3. And then looking at goals scored and goals allowed per period, so the Blues, 9 goals in the first period, 6 goals in the second, but an astonishing 18 goals scored in the third period. And then looking at what they've conceded, they've actually let in 4 more goals in the first period, 3 more goals in the second, but they've been very stingy in the third. The Sharks' story is definitely different. They are strong in the first period with a +3 goal differential. In the second, it's the other way around, -4 goal differential, and in the third period, they're at neutral. Okay, let's look at the individual playoff stats for each team. So we'll start with the Blues here. In terms of points, Jaden Schwartz and Alex Pietrangelo both have 11. 8 of those points for Schwartz are goals to lead the team. Vlad Tarasenko has recorded 47 shots on goal. Pietrangelo leads defensemen with 25 minutes, 43 seconds a game. Ryan O'Reilly is definitely above the rest among forwards at 22 minutes and 20 seconds a game. The best plus-minus on the team goes to Jaden Schwartz at a +7. And the worst plus-minus on the team so far is Vlad Tarasenko and Ryan O'Reilly at a -5. Braden Shen leads all Blues in takeaways. He has 15, and Schwartz has an impressive 14. However, Shen has given up the puck 16 times. Pietrangelo leads in blocks with 24. Shen leads in hits with 38. And in net, Jordan Binnington has been very good, 2.39 goals against and a .915 save percentage. And here I have a picture of Jaden Schwartz because you could probably argue that so far through the first 2 rounds, he's been the team's MVP. Him, Pietrangelo, they're probably the front runners. Now for the Sharks. So Hertl, Couture, and Burns all have 14 points. Hertl and Couture are tied with 9 goals apiece. Hertl has also recorded the most shots on goal at 54. Usually you'd find Burns there, but Tomasz, he is at the top spot. Among defensemen, Brent Burns has logged 29 minutes and 13 seconds of ice time each game. That's pretty insane. And then among forwards, Hertl, like Ryan O'Reilly, is above 22 minutes. The best plus-minus through the playoffs is Marc-Edouard Vlasic, Timo Meier, and Gustav Nyquist at a +5. The worst plus-minus goes to Brendan Dillon, although his partner, Erik Karlsson, is at a -5. The takeaways leader is Tomasz Hertl at 24. The giveaways leader is Brent Burns at 15. Burns, however, does have the most blocked shots at 38. Timo Meier has been the most physical of the Sharks, registering 52 hits. And in net, Martin Jones has a 2.72 goals against and a .910 save percentage. And although those numbers are pretty pedestrian, in his last 10 games, so since Game 4 against Vegas, I believe his goals against is 2.06 and his save percentage is at .928. So with these statistics in mind, I've put together 3 success factors for the St. Louis Blues, 3 reasons why I think they can win this series. So first one is hold the zone. So the Blues have actually done a very good job of maintaining possession in the offensive zone. I certainly saw that against the Stars. And the thing is that if they can actually carry this out in this round, I think that way they can keep the play at 5-on-5. If you look back at the team statistics, the Blues have done very well, even strength. The Sharks have been the weaker team, even strength. So the Blues don't want to get into too many special teams battles. The other thing is that if you can hold the puck longer, you're going to wear the other team down. And San Jose, as we know, they've played 14 games so far. Success factor number 2, prevent Burns and Karlsson's shots from going through. The thing is that the St. Louis Blues, they have defensemen who know how to get down and block shots. And while that's fantastic, they can actually utilize their size to contain Hertl, Pavelski, and Meier from crashing the net. So that what that's going to require is guys like Alex Steen to be able to get in front of Burns and get in front of Erik Karlsson. And even if they're not going to block the shot, just get your stick in the way because the Sharks, they rely a lot on those 2 guys to generate offense. And then lastly, play aggressive early on. So the Sharks have conceded goals in the first and the last minutes of periods, especially in the first period. And the thing is that really you can set the tone early by finding a way to get on the board, by coming out with a lot of energy and just being aggressive really. So I think that, St. Louis might not be the type of team to do that, but I mean, you've seen results pay off with Vegas, you've seen results pay off with Colorado. So I think that St. Louis will definitely look for those opportunities. And in particular, attack Erik Karlsson. You look at Game 7 against Colorado, and Erik Karlsson, he was beat many times over. He's been kind of caught sort of cheating a little bit too up front offensively. And so with that said, I mean, the Blues could generate some odd man chances. Now for 3 reasons why I don't think the Blues would win this series. So number 1, stay out of the box. The Blues have been fairly disciplined. However, if they do sort of get out of the rhythm of playing 5-on-5 hockey, I know that San Jose's power play has struggled so far, but really with Joe Pavelski coming back, I think that they're going to build some momentum now. And even if they're not scoring goals, the Sharks can really fatigue their opponents by playing on the power play because San Jose is so good at keeping the puck in the zone. So even if the Sharks are getting, a couple power plays in the first period, that could leave St. Louis very tired going into the next period. So they really have to be aware of that. Number 2, shoot early and shoot often. So the Blues have been outscored 22-15 in the first 2 periods, and the Sharks have scored 25 goals, although they've let in some themselves. So kind of like I said in the success factors, the Blues, if they don't shoot early and get aggressive initially, I just think that the Sharks have a chance to build an early lead and pad that lead. And number 3, spark the Vlad. So Vlad Tarasenko has only 1 even strength goal in the playoffs. And even though Jaden Schwartz and Pietrangelo have been fantastic so far, you can't necessarily count on them to carry the load. The Blues have gotten some good contributions on a game-by-game basis from other guys, but in terms of night in, night out contributions on the board, I just don't know if the Blues have the firepower to keep pace with San Jose. The other thing is that Vlad Tarasenko was held to only 2 goals against San Jose in the 2016 conference finals, and those 2 goals came at the very end of Game 6 when the Blues got eliminated. So Vlad Tarasenko, he is definitely going to be on a mission this series. Now let's look at success factors and pitfalls for the Sharks. So number 1 is wreck with the forecheck. The Sharks, as we saw against Colorado, they can actually roll for forechecking lines. So even guys like Jumbo Joe Thornton and Kevin LeBanc, who is known more for his finesse, and Marcus Sorensen, that's one line that can forecheck. Tomas Hertl can get in there. Evander King can get in there. Barclay Goodrow pictured here and the 4th line. So the Sharks can really grind opponents down with forechecks and dumping the puck into the zone, getting the puck deep. Number 2, the Sharks, they did a very nice job against the Avs by playing behind the net and generating chances there. So the Sharks are a team that can certainly cycle the puck better than most teams, and if they can get the puck behind the net during that cycle and then put a guy like Timo Meier crashing into the front, then I think that is definitely a source for a lot of their goals in this series. Lastly, I said 2 or fewer and shut down the top line. So when the Sharks concede 2 goals or fewer, they haven't lost once this season. Now, I know the Avalanche had a 2-0 lead and then got an empty net goal, so that kind of goes against what I'm saying here. But even so, looking at the hard facts, the Sharks have this amazing record when they play good team defense. And the thing is that if you look at the 2 series they've played, in the Vegas series, the Sharks eventually learned how to shut down Stone, Pacioretty, and Stastny. And then similarly, they were actually able to shut down McKinnon pretty well in the last 3 games of the Colorado series. So you look at Vlasic and Burns actually for a lot of the defensive plays he's been making in the playoffs, and you say, hey, these guys, they're going to be very integral in terms of containing the guys that St. Louis is going to rely on. And here are 3 reasons why I don't think the Sharks would win this series. So number 1, Brent Burns has had a very good playoffs overall, but the thing is that he's already logging 29 minutes of ice time a game, and you can see the fatigue settle in at times. And the thing is that if you're fatigued, sometimes you won't, will yourself to make the extra effort in order to complete a play. And for a guy who's very prone to giving the puck away, this could definitely spell trouble for him. Number 2, don't get cute. So the Sharks have been losing out on scoring chances when they try to get too cute, whether even strength or on the power play. And the thing is that this is very apparent in the neutral zone. And so even when the puck's not down at the opponent's end, the Sharks are trying to make these highlight reel plays to move the puck up ice, and their zone entries look like crap. And really, Erik Karlsson is actually a big piece of this, as is Burns. And so if you have your blue line doing this and playing up and failing to actually just connect with somebody who can enter the zone and, generate some time in the zone, then I think the Sharks could be in trouble. I mean, Fortunately, St. Louis isn't quite as speedy and transition oriented as the Blues are. But again, I mean, you're a team that's played 14 games right now. I mean, is everybody going to hustle back and back check? I'm not sure about that. And then lastly, the third line struggles. So, late in the season, we saw some great results from Joe Thornton, Kevin LeBanc, and Marcus Sorensen playing together. But the thing is that despite their play at the end of the year and even into the Vegas series, they really fell flat against Colorado. And so the thing is that if these guys continue to struggle, well, I kind of combine this with how the Sharks played in the second half against Colorado. You can't just count on Logan Couture and Tomas Hertl to score all the goals for your forwards. And so these guys need to get on the board. Not to mention, I can't believe I don't even have this in here, but Evander Kane hasn't done all that much on the score sheet so far. But yeah, if I had to pinpoint it on one line, I would say Jumbo's line. Especially, Jumbo, of course, this is potentially his last ride. So, hopefully a guy like Marcus Sorensen, who had a fantastic playoffs last year for the Sharks, can actually get back to that form and put a few in the net himself. All right, friends, so that's going to do it for my preview. I think this is going to be a very closely contested series. I don't see how it's not going to go at least 6 games, if not 7. God, wouldn't that be crazy if the Sharks had to play in 3 consecutive Game 7s? I think that Jordan Binnington, he's, over the course of, 35, 40 games, he's played just spectacular, especially coming into the season midway. And I think that Martin Jones is going to be challenged to elevate his game on a consistent basis to best out Binnington. I think that's going to, potentially give the Sharks an edge if he can do that. And as for the Blues, I think that Jaden Schwartz, what he's done over the course of these playoffs at both ends of the ice, I think that he could be instrumental. And so could Braden Shen if he can find a way to kind of get it going offensively. I think he's been playing better as the series has gone along, and he's done enough physically. But yeah, it's going to be about how he and a couple other forwards like Ryan O'Reilly can shut down Brent Burns. Now, in addition to this preview, I will actually be vlogging from the Shark Tank for games 1 and 2. So that's Saturday and Monday. So I'll try to get my videos up as soon as I can, and then that way you can see some of the playoff madness at the Shark Tank through my lens, essentially. And yeah, we'll have some fun with those as well. I don't know if I'll make any other videos in relation to this series, but should the Sharks somehow find a way to get to the Cup Finals, I will definitely have a lot more content around that for sure. Again, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Who do you think is going to take this series? Who do you think is going to, kind of come out of nowhere and put up, an MVP performance for this series? Who's going to move on to the Stanley Cup Finals, even from the East? Let me know your predictions in the comments below. Once again, if you're new to this channel, be sure to hit that big red subscribe button. And if you enjoyed this video, give it a big thumbs up. I would appreciate that very much. And stick around because there's more Twisted Wrister content coming in the form of oddball topics, homebrewed stats, jersey unboxings, and playoff coverage. This is Nick with Twisted Wrister Hockey. Thanks for tuning in, everyone, and I hope to see you again soon.